Alright, welcome back to the channel. We have made it through week 1 of college football, giving a little bit of brief reaction on all of these Louisiana teams that I've covered on it. Starting off with Louisiana Monroe's 29-0 shutout against St. Francis in Pennsylvania. After an hour and 43-minute lightning delay in Monroe, we got this game finally under. Just a little brief thing with St. Francis themselves. I spoke on them playing 3 quarterbacks in different games last year. St. Francis started Nick Whitfield Jr. at quarterback in the first half, was 9 for 16, 36 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. The 1 pick was on a batted ball, intercepted by They started sophomore quarterback Jeff Hohenstein in the second half, who was 3 for 4 for 14 yards. Had 1 possession that was 2 for 3 for 10 yards, but neither quarterback really that effective. And then the third quarterback, Adrian Mejia, ended up being one of the running backs that they used, who ended up having 2 carries for 8 yards. Whitfield missed a couple wheel routes that could have gone for big games. There was a couple crossing patterns that he was able to complete, and there was a couple completions that he made that also the location of the throw more stopped the progress of the Red Flash than the actual defenders of the Warhawks. They also went to Jeff Hohenstein. Hohenstein started more competently as a starter in the second half on it, completing 2 of his first 3 passes for 10 yards and showed more conviction in his passes in those 2 completions at that point. But then once you went further onto the game, he would end up holding the ball too long and not really getting much progress at all. So once again, after that first possession, they really didn't make it across the 50 for the rest of the game. The remainder of his 3 drives that he had in the fourth quarter, they didn't even get a single first down. Now, looking at the early possessions for Louisiana Monroe in this game, a little bit of takeaways. You had Braylon McReynolds end up being the first running back off the board. Starting off early on, he was the one who ended up carrying this offense, which with a few runs, including a 7-yard completion from Armana and a 74-yard run that put them down to the 1-yard line, with the backup quarterback, Hunter Herring, running it in from 1 yard out. After that possession, they decided to go with Zach Palmer-Smith for a few runs, and you have Aiden Armana showed decent mobility getting out of the pocket and running downfield for a 9-yard and 32-yard game on back-to-back plays. Both plays ended up resulting in fumbles, but he recovered both fumbles. Outside of that, with a few missed completions, they still couldn't get anything going for that drive. Their new field goal kicker in Luke Stagg missed a 49-yard field goal way short. For the rest of the first half, just about, neither offense really was productive at all. They had 1 more possession for Monroe, the second half session of the half, getting a 11-yard run from Palmer-Smith. It's a backup running back out of Richmond. Got 1 nice crossing pattern to Aiden Armana for 25 yards. And then in the same way, they weren't able to convert in the red zone. Got a short field goal that Stagg did actually, 32 yards. You got a 10-0 game at the halftime. First possession of the second half, you have McReynolds getting back into the offense again for 10-7, the South Alabama transfer. Then you get Dorian Lewis getting a nice 21-yard run and a 7-yard run back-to-back. And then once again, Hunter Herring with another QB draw that he can just pop defenders whenever he's on a run. But for the only time of the game, Aiden Armana, once they actually got into the red zone, was able to do a rollout, a wheel pass to McReynolds for the lone passing touchdown on Armana's day. The rest of the third quarter was highly irrelevant. Then you had the first 2. You had 2 of the 3 main possessions for Monroe in the fourth quarter. One being the longest and probably most effective drive in the game. 15 plays, 91 yards. Took 6.5 minutes off the clock. Getting a lot of the reserves off of it at that point, with Armana going to Nate Sullivan, getting Tyrell Reed, the third-string running back, in for 19 yards, 8 yards, and 4 yards. And then after a couple more incompletions that included a drop or 2, they brought in Herring again for another QB draw for a 4-yard gain on a 4th down conversion. They got a couple carries in for freshman running back Deshaun Ford, the 3-star prospect that's local to Louisiana. And then you get Armena eventually pounding it in for a 7-yard touchdown run. Once St. Francis ended up going 3 and out on the following possession and punting, Monroe ended up getting the ball to the 50-yard line to start. They tried to get on the first possession to get a big play to start and end the drive. Fortunately, the way they ended the drive was a ball that was in the receiver's hands, popped out of his hands right to safety Jeremiah Harris, returned to the St. Francis 25-yard line. Following drive for St. Francis, 4 plays and outs. Monroe gets the ball back. They bring in their backup quarterback, Landon Graves, 13-yard run, and a deep streak to the back corner of the end zone for wide receiver Tyler Griffin, who had also had a 50-yard completion brought back for a penalty in the first half. Also to make note, quick mention of Luke Stagg, the field goal kicker, 1 for 2 on the game. That way shortened 49-yard field goal that he missed, and he had 2 extra points blocked that they actually don't show in this box score. But that was on back-to-back touchdown drives. But now, with Monroe going 1-0 to start the season, they're now going to make a trip to a highly pissed off Alabama Crimson Tide, who just got their clocks run against Florida State, 31-17. And the last time we didn't think Alabama was going to be that great was Nick Saban's first year as head coach. And what ended up happening on that game was the fact that Monroe did end up beating Alabama. And that's the last time Monroe has beaten an SEC opponent. Do I think that has any chance of happening? No. One can dream. But it's going to end up being a struggle if you're not able to get more production out of Armena, who had 95 yards passing. If you can't get any more production out of the receiving game. And there's nothing about this defense that showed that Monroe can replicate against actual quality opponent. Regardless of that, they held them to 131 yards of offense, only 50 yards passing. It could have been a lot worse. But yeah, Monroe going 1-0. We'll see how it goes this coming weekend against Alabama. How long they can keep that game competitive. But yeah, that's it on Monroe's first game of the year. Enjoy it, like and subscribe on the video, comment down below. I understand Louisiana Monroe is not going to get that much fanfare, especially for a Division II opponent, nor should they. But whenever they actually end their 6-game losing streak. More videos coming out, going to be reacting to the Louisiana game, the Tulane game, and LSU game. But yeah, thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all next one.